When a man constantly drains his seed, his inner signal becomes noisy and scattered. Attention leaks outward, and intuition gets buried under cravings, overstimulation, and mental clutter. This creates blurred intuition, where decisions feel rushed, instincts feel unreliable, and awareness stays surface level. Retention changes this dynamic at the root. By conserving the seed, the nervous system calms and energy stops bleeding into short-term urges. Ancient traditions understood this as preserving life force, while modern psychology sees it as reduced internal noise. When the body is no longer chasing release, perception sharpens. The mind becomes quieter, not empty, but clear. This clarity is the foundation of the third eye. It is not mystical at first. It is simply awareness returning to itself after being pulled outward for too long. As retention continues, faculties till insight begin activating naturally. Focus improves, emotional swings soften, and subtle signals become easier to detect. The brain's ability to integrate information strengthens, allowing patterns, timing, and intention to stand out without effort. Section 1. Sensory gating. The brain runs on a filtering system that decides what deserves attention and what gets pushed aside. Psychology calls this sensory gating, and it protects awareness from overload. When stimulation is constant, that gate weakens. Thoughts pile up, emotions overlap, and everything feels urgent at once. Ancient teachings warned about this long before modern science gave it a name, describing how scattered desire clouds perception. Semen retention slows this overload at the source. By reducing constant reward chasing, the nervous system calms and the gate regains strength. Signals that once blended into noise start separating again. Awareness feels less crowded. Instead of reacting to everything, the mind becomes selective. This selectivity is the beginning of sharper perception, and the first step toward refined intuition. Overstimulation does more than tire the mind, it dulls sensitivity. When the filter is flooded, subtle cues never reach conscious awareness. Tone changes in conversation, emotional shifts in a room, or quiet warnings from within get ignored. Biology explains this as excess dopamine reducing signal clarity, while ancient traditions described it as energy leaking downward and outward. Retention reverses this trend. Mental clutter fades because fewer impulses demand attention. The gate tightens. What passes through now carries meaning instead of distraction. Small details stand out again. You sense when something feels off without needing proof. This is not imagination growing stronger. It is perception becoming cleaner, because interference has been reduced. As the filter stabilizes, awareness starts operating with precision rather than force. You notice patterns in people's behavior, timing in events, and shifts in mood that used to slide past unnoticed. History shows that monks, warriors, and scholars all practiced restraint to sharpen awareness, even if they used different language to explain it. Retention places the brain in a similar state by lowering internal static. The result is a quiet alertness. You are not hyper, focused, or tense. You are simply present. This is why intuition feels sharper. The mind is no longer overwhelmed, so perception becomes accurate. What you notice now was always there. You just finally have the clarity to register it. Section 2. Pattern detection. What many traditions point to as the third eye often maps to a real cognitive skill the brain already has. It is the ability to spot patterns before conscious thought finishes forming a sentence. Psychology shows that the brain is constantly predicting, comparing what it sees now with what it has seen before. When attention is scattered by constant urges, this system slows down. Signals get buried under noise. Retention changes that balance. With fewer cravings pulling attention outward, the brain has more space to process information quietly in the background. Ancient observers described this as inner sight awakening. Biology describes it as prediction circuits working without interference. Either way, awareness becomes faster and more accurate, because it is no longer fighting distraction. When fantasy loops fade, attention stops jumping from one impulse to the next. Working memory clears, This gives the mind room to connect small details that once felt unrelated. A pause in someone's voice, a repeated behavior pattern, or a subtle shift in timing suddenly stands out. History shows that strategists, hunters, and leaders relied on this skill long before modern science explained it. They conserved energy and attention, so the mind could read situations early. Retention supports the same mechanism by calming reward-driven noise. The brain no longer needs to chase stimulation. Instead, it observes. That observation builds quiet confidence, because outcomes begin to feel predictable rather than random. As pattern detection sharpens, intuition feels stronger even though nothing mystical is being forced. You start sensing how situations will unfold, because your brain is assembling clues faster than conscious thought can keep up with. This is why decisions feel easier and hesitation fades. You are not guessing. You are responding to information that has already been processed beneath awareness. Ancient texts spoke of foresight and inner knowing, while neuroscience points to faster signal integration. Retention strengthens this ability by keeping attention steady and undivided. The result is a calm certainty that arrives before words. What feels sudden to others feels obvious to you, because your mind has already seen the pattern forming. Section 3. Inner stillness. Inner stillness becomes noticeable when retention removes the constant pull toward stimulation. Without frequent release, the nervous system stops chasing relief and starts settling into calm. Psychology shows that the brain sharpens perception when background noise drops. Ancient disciplines also emphasized silence as a condition for insight. When the inner world quiets, awareness no longer leaks through scattered thoughts. Attention gathers in one place. This is why intuition feels stronger. It was always there, but it was drowned out. Retention trains you to stay with quiet moments instead of escaping them. Over time, silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling full. That fullness is awareness concentrating instead of dispersing. As tolerance for stillness grows, instinctive signals rise to the surface with less effort. The body sends information constantly through sensation, tension, and subtle emotional shifts. Biology confirms that the gut, heart, and brain are always exchanging signals. When the mind is loud, these messages get ignored. Retention reduces internal chatter, making it easier to notice what is already being communicated. This leads to faster judgment, not rushed judgment. Decisions form smoothly because the mind is not arguing with itself. Ancient thinkers described this as inner guidance, while modern science points to integrated signaling. Both agree that clarity comes from quiet, not force. Eventually, a sense of guidance appears, because deeper awareness finally has space to speak. This does not feel dramatic or overwhelming. It feels calm and certain. Actions begin aligning without excessive thinking. History shows that monks, warriors, and philosophers all used restraint and silence to sharpen perception. Retention creates the same condition by conserving energy and attention. Instincts become trustworthy because they are no longer mixed with craving or fear. Judgment feels clean. You move with confidence not because you know everything, but because you hear yourself clearly for the first time. In that quiet state, intuition stops whispering and starts leading.